Welcome, everybody, to the 1 Point Safety Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Sherrick, alongside Adam Walters, and we got a new co-host, Marty Coops.
Hello.
Marty.
Hello.
Like I said, my name is Mark Sherrick. I am a fan of Michigan. Go Blue. Screw Ohio State. Go Rams.
I'm Adam Walters. I am extremely sore and tired from running a 5K yesterday, and I thought I was going to break my ankles.
Jesus, what are you, nuts? 5K?
In the middle of winter.
In the middle of winter.
Hey.
Marty Coops here. I am one of the few remaining Detroit Lions fans and a Patricia and Stafford believer. University of Michigan for all things college, and a really terrible Red Wings fan ever since our son was born.
I hear that. So before we jump into all of the sports that we got lined up, which is a lot after the Chiefs' amazing Super Bowl win, I want to talk about something that happened actually right after we got done recording our last podcast. We went out to grab a bite to eat, and as we sat down, we saw on the news that Kobe Bryant had died in a crazy helicopter crash.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, this is something that transcends sports. I mean, it wasn't just Kobe. There was 9 people that died in this accident. I mean, it is really tragic. And, I grew up watching Kobe. He was like kind of the face of the NBA for 20 years. And, I mean, it's just a really sad and tragic accident.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was too young to, watch, Michael Jordan or anything like that. So, everybody that says Michael Jordan's the best to ever play the game, I grew up watching Kobe, like you said. And, he had that killer mentality as far as, trying to go win the game and everything, and ended up winning 5 championships. And
yeah, he made 17 All-Star games, which is second only behind Kareem, and has 11 first-team All-NBA titles.
Wow.
Which is tied with Karl Malone. I mean, we are talking about serious company. Another stat that I loved was only 2 players have had more playoff points than him, MJ and Kareem.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking, top 3 best players of all time?
right.
And I don't think anyone would argue that Kobe's not top 10, top 5.
I was going to say top 5.
Yeah.
Got to be top
Or
5.
close to top 5, at least.
Yeah, the Mamba.
Yeah.
I remember when he dropped 81 points in a game.
Yeah, in 2006. That was the highest percentage a single player has ever scored of their team's total points.
Wow.
Now, did he play that entire game? I can't remember if he played the entire game or not. If they took him out after the third quarter.
No, I
No,
think they
he
just
played the
let
whole
him
thing.
go, and he
Yeah.
was just dropping threes left and right. I remember watching highlights of that game, and I was just like, "Holy cow, he's still scoring!"
Right.
81 points in a game. I mean, we all remember that. I remember the Sports Illustrated my dad always had. It came out, and it was every picture was a shot that he scored. It was insane.
Right.
So, yeah, really, really a tragic accident, but something that, we'll be able to live on with, our memories. So, all right, let's just jump right into it. So there was the big game last Sunday, and
Amazing game.
geez,
Loved
did it not disappoint? Holy cow.
Way better than last year.
Oh,
Super
my
Bowl.
gosh.
I will say that that's probably the most attentive I've been to a Super Bowl in a while. Like, I just couldn't get off the screen.
Right.
Yeah. And so as everyone knows, Kansas City wins 31-20. They scored 21 points in the final 8 minutes of the game. I mean, it was just high-powered, especially that last half a quarter. Patrick Mahomes turned it on, did Patrick Mahomes things. Like I said in last week's podcast, you need to have Patrick Mahomes in order to win that game.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. It was interesting listening to Andy Reid do an interview too, where they said, "Were you ever worried?" And he said, "No, same thing we've done in all the playoff games is we have faith that once Patrick gets in a rhythm, it'll just start clicking and we'll bring the firepower." And man, did they ever.
I was worried throughout the whole game because the 49ers defense Patrick Mahomes got 4 sacks on him. And when Mahomes threw that second interception there in the fourth quarter, I'm like, oh man, I don't know if they're going to come back from this one. I mean, they've come back from the other 2 games, but
And at the beginning of the game, when Patrick Mahomes, his first couple throws were just a little shaky, a little off. Bosa was just right in his face. It was a little worrisome, but the thing about Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes and why I think they're going to be back more than one more time and win more than one more time is that they don't need a quarter to beat you. They don't need a game to beat you. They need 3 drives to score 21 points in the final 8 minutes of a Super Bowl against the best defense in the league.
Yeah, and they say, how do you beat a good pass rush? And a lot of people will say San Francisco has one of the best front four on defense in the NFL right now. Is you run the ball at them.
Right.
You tire them out. You make them chase someone besides Patrick Mahomes. And when you have a running back that can rush for 104 yards on 17 carries and average 6.1 yards a carry,
Yeah.
how do you keep up with that?
Monster game from Damian Williams.
Yeah.
It was great. And I saw this on ESPN, and I don't know if I hate the question or if I love the question, but did Kansas City win or did the 49ers lose?
Enough.
I think it's a dumb question because you're saying you're taking away what Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs did by scoring 21 points. That's like saying did Atlanta lose or did New England win that comeback? New England won it and Atlanta lost it. That's the point of the game.
Yeah, Kansas City never lost faith that they were in that game, and they never stopped playing like they were in the game. It's not over until it's over.
Yeah, and the 49ers defense, you can't keep doing it for 4 straight quarters. Like, you're going to get gassed. You're going to run out of energy,
Right.
especially when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes.
Yep. And you have to play all 4 quarters against Patrick Mahomes. And I know you're tired and you're gassed, but this is an example for the future of people that play Kansas City. This is what they can do. This is how they can turn that on. And we've talked about that before. When they turn it on, it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah. And speaking of being gassed, too, I saw Kyle Shanahan said that after Jimmy G overthrew Samuels for that play, he really wanted to take a timeout because he said his offensive players looked so gassed at that point in the game, but he couldn't afford to use the timeout.
Right.
Yeah.
Was it Samuels or was it Sanders? I think it was Sanders. Are you talking about the post route all the way, the deep
Sanders.
pass? Yeah.
If he would have caught that would have been game over.
Yeah, and that's the difference between, in my opinion, Mahomes and Garoppolo. Mahomes, when he needed to make the throws, he made the throws. I know he's got fast receivers. I know he's got multiple receivers. I know he has Kelsey. I get all that. But when he needed to make the throws most, he made them. Garoppolo could have cemented his place in history if he would have hit Sanders deep in the middle of the field. And he had a couple steps on him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a drop it in there, and he missed it. They lost the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's Jimmy's fault, but there are certain plays in a game that define the game. That was one of them.
Yeah.
Agreed,
Absolutely.
100%.
So Mahomes is the Super Bowl MVP. You guys okay with that? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I thought Damian Williams should have won it, honestly. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is, great. He did great and everything, but I thought Williams did a little bit more to win that.
Sure, yeah, Mahomes, this was not a great game for Mahomes. Heck, it could have been considered one of his worst games. He went 26 for 42 for 62%, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. I mean, mind you, that's a pretty good stat line for a quarterback, but everyone expects Mahomes to be on the next level. I truly think that Mahomes deserves the MVP, so I would disagree with you, Adam, for the sole purpose of if you put another running back in there, Kansas City could still win that game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that.
If you took Mahomes out of it, I don't think you score 3 touchdowns in 8 minutes and 12 seconds and win the Super Bowl.
Well, I guess my point is maybe we need to change the name of the award then to not most valuable player to most outstanding player, because I think Damian Williams outperformed Patrick Mahomes, honestly.
And I completely agree. I think if it was who had the better performance in that game, I would say Damian Williams. If you said who is most valuable to the team,
Yeah.
I would say it's Patrick Mahomes, and I don't even think it's close.
Agree with that. I agree with that.
So the only difference between Patrick Mahomes and Damian Williams was 75 yards. Patrick Mahomes ran for 29 yards and 1 touchdown. Damian, 104 for 1 touchdown. So the quarterback still, 75 yards, that's not that big of a difference when you're talking about a quarterback and a running back.
Sure.
Right.
And then Mahomes obviously had all the passing yards and and everything. He also had 2 interceptions. So again, it wasn't Mahomes' best game, but he did enough. And what makes him, in my opinion, the MVP, he did enough when it mattered. If Jimmy G would have hit Sanders open in the middle of the field to score a touchdown, Jimmy G would be the Super Bowl MVP and would have a ring.
Mm-hmm.
So another area of the Super Bowl that I really like to discuss is the coaches. You know, Andy Reid, longtime coach. A lot of people like him. And Kyle Shanahan, where do you guys stand on that?
I thought he did all right. Kyle Shanahan, I thought he did all right. Maybe a little bit of clock management issue again, like when he was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. But I think he did all right. I don't think he really mismanaged the clock like everybody is like making it out.
Yeah, everyone's losing their mind over that.
I thought it was fine. I think you could justify what he did. Whether you want to agree with it or not is one thing. I couldn't be happier for Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid. What I'm going to be curious of is, so Kyle Shanahan had a lead with the 49ers in the Super Bowl and lost. Offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan had a giant lead with the Falcons and lost. You know, Patriots came back and beat them. So now he's going to have to fight this narrative that's following him around right now that says he can't win big games or he can't hold a lead.
He blows big games.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Shanahan is a great coach. Mm-hmm. And he's still a young coach. Look what he's done in 3 years at San Francisco. So I'm not, like, it's the Super Bowl. No one's going to give up. No one's going to stop playing. And sometimes you're going to lose. And I think Kyle Shanahan will get better. And it's going to be fun to watch him for years to come.
Well, like going to your point of, can Kyle Shanahan not win the big game? A lot could be said like Andy Reid for a long time. Yep. Because, he's been to 7 conference championship games.
Wow.
5 with the Eagles, 2 with Kansas City. Now finally just won a Super Bowl with Kansas City. But he went to 4 straight NFC championship games with the Eagles from 2001 to 2004 and never won the big game. So, maybe Kyle Shanahan's going to be just like Andy Reid, where it's going to take him a while to, get over that hump.
I would say, to Marty's point about Kyle Shanahan, did he blow it? And yeah, I don't think he blew it. I don't think he blew it like he did when he was with Atlanta and he called 3 straight pass plays when they were deep in their own territory and they just needed to run out the clock with the lead. I get where he was going. He was like, if we can get a first down and then we can run it, we can run even more time off the clock. But you can't do it with the Patriots. You have to just keep doing what you're doing to win. And don't throw the ball. You need to drain clock. So I think he did blow it against the Patriots. I can't put this loss on Kyle Shanahan.
I'm not going to put it
either
completely on him, but I remember sitting, watching the game with all you guys, and it was the fourth quarter, just like a 3-point lead at this point. And I looked over at someone after they threw the ball on second down after a run, and I said, why are they throwing the ball? They're abandoning the run.
Yep.
And then third down came, and they had to throw the ball.
Right.
Actually, they didn't. I think they only needed 6 yards. So, again, it's the fourth quarter. You have a lead. Mahomes is probably getting into a rhythm now, and you run on first and throw on second and third and then punt the ball away.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kansas City's defense couldn't stop the run really at all.
Nope.
No.
And you always need to account that the Kansas City Chiefs, they can score in 25 seconds.
At will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so your defense has been holding them, but you can't get comfortable thinking that that's always going to be the case because in a very, very quick turn of events, next thing you know, you're down by 11 and you lost the Super Bowl.
And if there's a coach in that game that should know that, it's Kyle Shanahan.
It's Kyle Shanahan. 100% agree. Some Andy Reid stats that are just absolutely ridiculous and why I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest head coaches of all time now that he got this black mark off his record of not being able to win a Super Bowl, which, mind you, I think he retires with 3 Super Bowls because he's going to stay with Kansas City and he's got Patrick Mahomes and all those weapons. Andy Reid, he's got a 61 win percentage, but what's crazy is out of his 21 seasons, 14 of them he's had 10-plus wins. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
10 or more wins. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest. I think the Eagles are ridiculous when they fired him because he went, I think, 4-12 one year, and then they fired him.
Yeah, with a broken quarterback too, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how old do you think Andy Reid is?
Whew.
I think I looked this up. He's like 60, isn't he?
61 years old.
61?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some time left.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah. He
Yeah.
definitely does.
In his 7 seasons with Kansas City, yet to post a losing record. So let that sink in.
Right? It's insane.
Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
I know.
don't even think it's a question. And if anyone wants to call in and argue that, I would love to. Now, this is always the question with New England, right? Is it Belichick or is it Brady? I think it's a little bit of both. Here, is it Mahomes or is it Andy Reid? Andy Reid shows that he can win games with not Patrick Mahomes, like I just said about his 14 of 21 seasons having 10 plus wins. But where do you see Patrick Mahomes fits in as? I mean, we know Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but where do you see him fit in as a quarterback compared to the other quarterbacks in the league?
Like the rest of the field.
Yeah, with the rest of the quarterbacks in the field, like who's the? Let's just go through our top 10 quarterbacks that's in the league.
I got Mahomes 1, Breeze 2.
Whoa, Breeze at 2. Holy cow! You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
He's still got a lot left in the tank.
Sure.
Like, yeah, he was out for 6 games with a broken collarbone, but when he came back, he still posted just the same numbers as he's always has.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Russell Wilson.
All right.
Aaron Rodgers.
Jeez, oh Pete, did you know that there was this guy that played this last year? He's got some initials by his name, something MVP.
I'm getting to him.
All
I'm
right,
getting to him.
all right.
I go back and forth with 5 and 6.
Okay.
Because I've got Brady and Jackson.
All right.
Because I still put Brady up there just because of all the Super Bowls and all the MVPs that he's won. But, I mean, I don't know. Lamar, I think give Lamar one more year and then maybe he passes Brady.
Okay. Because Brady didn't look quite like himself. But how many times have we said that? And then he comes back and wins
just
the Super Bowl
wait
next year.
Wait until November. Wait until December. Brady will turn it on. Yeah.
Right.
And then 7, I got Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
8, I might not be a popular opinion, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Hey,
Matt
good
Ryan.
for him. Yeah, sure.
And 9, I got Phillip Rivers, and 10, Ben Roethlisberger.
You are out of your mind. Who are you?
Well, I'd like to hear who you got above Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers, I don't even have the stats, but I think he threw like 150 interceptions this year.
He had one bad year.
He had a very bad year.
He had a very bad year.
Oh my gosh. I think we got like Patrick Mahomes at number 1.
And that's it.
And that's it. Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, league MVP, league passing touchdown in his first 2 years as a quarterback. I think Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the NFL, and I'm really excited to see where he's going. So I got Patrick Wilson.
Oh, are we talking about Joe Madden or Iron Maiden?
We're talking about Joe Maiden. Okay, I got Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, because I think he's got a very, very bright future as a running back / quarterback. Drew Brees, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. I've always liked him. But does it just seem like in the last few, I don't know, couple of years, he seems like he just hasn't been himself.
Yeah.
But
Turn your mic on. You are a professional.
sorry, Marty, that was my fault.
He's also been going through McCarty,
Yeah.
basically being fired halfway through a season,
Right.
and then a new system
Yeah.
for LaFleur.
That's true. And LaFleur came in and just really turned that team around.
Yeah, and it's run first.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be back. So I have Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray. I know it's crazy, but
God.
I think
really.
Get out of here.
okay.
I can't take you seriously right now.
Let's talk about this. We're gonna talk about this for a second. You're telling me, look me in the eyes. Well, I know you already chose, but look me in the eyes. You would rather have Phillip Rivers over Kyler Murray.
No.
You're lucky I had the button ready, because that's ridiculous. But anyway, so I have Kyler Murray, then I have Jimmy G, the guy that went to the Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan. I don't even know if I would put Phillip Rivers in my top half of the quarterbacks in the league. I'm not gonna lie.
Agreed.
He is so past his prime. He needs to retire. Is it just me, or has he done something with his throwing arm that is like a little Stafford sidearm?
Sidearm.
He's always
Big
been
time.
like that, though.
Yeah, but it's
And you watch the replay, and it looks like his eyes are closed. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's not throwing the ball with his eyes closed, but come on.
I don't know. Some of those throws are pretty bad. Okay, so those are mine. Just a quick recap before we get to Marty. I have Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Drew Brees, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Brady, Kyler Murray, Jimmy G, and Matt Ryan.
All right. So true preparation here. I just kind of threw this together on the fly.
Sure.
But I feel good about this list. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to go right down the top 10, and then we can react.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Can we just stop for a second? We're not going to go back to Aaron Rodgers and,
Just gonna slide that
we're
one
just
right
going
in there.
to slide Aaron Rodgers in at number 2.
I do. I still think Aaron Rodgers is the second best quarterback in the NFL right now.
And that's a good question, is that I kind of, and this is my fault, I look back at last year and how they played, and if that was the case during regular season last year, you would say Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback in the league.
Right.
But if you look back at the whole body of work and where they're at, that might make a little more sense. That Aaron Rodgers was in the new system. He's in the new system with a new head coach, and McCarthy was not good for the team. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but that was it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think he's falling off. I think he's just figuring out how to play within that system, and he can.
Fair.
I still don't think there's quarterbacks that can spin the ball better than him.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
anyways, we went Mahomes, Rodgers, Russell Wilson,
Yep.
Drew Brees, Tom Brady,
Okay.
Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger. He was hurt last year, so he's
Sure.
not fresh on the
Yeah.
mind. But
Sure. Big Ben.
Big Ben, who tackles Big Ben?
Nobody. tackles
Nobody.
Big Ben.
And he just slings the ball around. So I'm not gonna. I had to get him up there because injuries happen. So
Yeah, I almost forgot to put him on my list because I forgot that he was injured this whole year.
right. So then we'll go Deshaun Watson,
Good.
Matthew Stafford.
We'll talk about
Matt
a homer
Ryan.
pick.
I think Matt Stafford's arm talent is elite. So, the Lions can't seem to put a team around him other than when they had Kelvin Johnson.
Yep.
But
No, they haven't been able to put a team around anybody since 1955, so we won't even
Correct.
talk about that.
yeah,
It's true. I was listening to ESPN, and they were talking about, they said since the Super Bowl era, what is the worst NFL franchise? And they were like Detroit Lions. And I don't know if I could disagree with that.
worse than the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be between Detroit and Cleveland.
Yeah.
I agree. It's between those two, but come on.
It's pretty bad. I mean, how many playoff wins have you guys had?
Recently,
0 recently. I mean, that's not even hard
Right.
to remember.
Mid 90s.
Yeah, they had one in the mid '90s, and then before that, I mean, no conference championships, no appearances in the NFC Championship. I mean, we're talking about a team that it's been rough on them since the Super Bowl era.
agreed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's your list. Run through it one more time for me.
Okay, from the top. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, there's some MVPs in there.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like all of our lists. And jumping right into MVPs, let's talk about some accolades that have been handed out in the last few weeks. We got a bunch down from the Associated Press. So I don't know, for people that don't know, the Associated Press, there's 50 writers that go and they vote on this slew of categories. The categories are MVP, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, coach of the year, and assistant coach of the year. So let's walk through them one at a time, and then we can discuss what we think, if it was the right call. If not, who do you think? So most valuable player, everyone's always going for. Most of the time it's a quarterback, but not always. Anyway, Lamar Jackson, unanimously voted. All 50 writers said Lamar Jackson was the most valuable player.
I don't think you can argue with it at
I'm
all.
not going to argue with that. How many games did he have where he rushed over 100 yards? He broke Vic's record.
Yep.
Yeah.
1,200 yards rushing.
Yeah, he was breaking records, all sorts of different records. And what's crazy is that it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was. If you would have asked anybody, hey, is Lamar Jackson going to get the MVP nod unanimously next year? If you would have asked them at the end of last year, I don't think anybody on the planet would have said yes.
I think people might have been questioning whether Lamar Jackson keeps his job after this year.
As a starting quarterback.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and people were probably questioning Harbaugh of like, what kind of decision is this? You know,
100%. I mean, they were asking him if he was worried about his job at the end of the season last year. So,
well, and then he ended up winning Coach of the Year. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off
Yeah,
the
no, it's
off the
great.
list or whatever, but
And I And the only person that I would think that I could argue maybe against that would be Kyle Shanahan, because how he turned around abysmal San Francisco team. Not this year, but
Well, they were
in previous years.
they were 3-13 last year,
Right.
and go to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the only argument. But yes, I do agree that John Harbaugh is the coach of the year. What's a weird thing about the Lamar Jackson MVP is when middle of the year, people were still not really on board with him. It was still Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes MVP talk, and then it was like somewhere maybe around week 9 or 10, it was like, what are we talking about?
Right.
It's Lamar Jackson. It's the Lamar Jackson show. When he was just beating the shit out of my Rams, I remember we were at B-Dubs, he just stomped the Rams, who had allegedly a pretty decent defense. Which turns out to be not true at all. I mean, I remember just sitting there being like, what the hell is going on?
What the hell's going on? I mean, what the hell is going on?
I mean, really, it was terrible, and it was all Lamar Jackson.
I honestly think that's where Lamar Jackson won the MVP, was when he destroyed the Rams on Monday Night Football.
I'll also say this is for the Russell Wilson comment that how he's in the talk. Is he always going to be the bridesmaid and never the bride? I feel like every year they're like, Russell Wilson, MVP candidate, so forth and so on. And he just never seems to get it. And again, it's another player when you look at a team. Like, who are the Seahawks without Russell Wilson?
Right, nothing.
Terrible.
Right? And he's just so good.
Right. I completely agree. It's always Russell Wilson is doing Russell Wilson things, having an amazing year, and then Patrick Mahomes comes in and his first full year throws 50 touchdowns.
I know.
And then Russell Wilson's like, well, I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. Okay, he's throwing left-handed, looking one way, throwing the other, switching hands, all that crazy stuff. Okay, next year, Russell Wilson having a great year. And what happens? Lamar Jackson, the running back / quarterback, comes in and just destroys them. And it's you just almost got to feel bad for him. But I guess they should have ran the ball at the 1 yard line with Marshawn Lynch.
I can't even eat with a fork left-handed, let alone throw a football. That just blows my mind.
For a completion in a game.
He's probably looking right.
Right. It's insane. So next, the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, that went to Michael Thomas with 19 votes. Surprisingly, Lamar Jackson had 17 votes. So that was pretty close for Lamar to actually get both those awards. But
Yeah, you got to wonder if they gave the offensive MVP to Michael Thomas just as Lamar is obviously going to win the MVP. Michael Thomas set the record for most receptions in a season, passing. Was that Marvin Harrison?
Yeah. Well, 17 people still voted for Lamar Jackson. So the breakdown went Michael Thomas 19, Lamar Jackson 17, Christian McCaffrey 12, Russell Wilson 1, Patrick Mahomes 1.
Christian McCaffrey. Wow, I didn't even think about that. But
Oh, yeah.
wow, he was so good this year.
Midway through the season, I actually had him pegged at number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a dynamic back. He can catch it, and he's fast, and he's resilient. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara, where he runs, he gets hit, he kind of just bounces off somebody, and then just keeps running.
Yeah. Doesn't want to go down.
Does not want to go down.
Shout out to Thomas for that $20 million a year contract too. Good
yeah,
for him.
Heck yeah, dude, that's freaking awesome.
Yep.
Like, seriously, he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's an amazing wide receiver. So I don't have really a problem with Michael Thomas getting it. I was a little bit hoping for Christian McCaffrey just because, running back, they can also catch. I'm good with that, but Michael Thomas deserves it.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
The Defensive Player of the Year went to Stephen Gilmore of the Patriots, that cornerback. He had some crazy stats this year. I mean, he was on fire. He was just a ball hawk. Chandler Jones, T.J. Watt were rounded up the top 3, but
T.J. Watt did pretty good this year. I was pleasantly surprised at how well he did.
Yeah. NFL Comeback Player of the Year. This is an interesting one. So Comeback Player of the Year was Ryan Tannehill with 16 votes. You guys good with that?
I'm good with Tannehill getting it.
Tennessee Titans quarterback. He played with Miami for a few years. Everyone thought he was washed up. Comes back, takes their team to the playoffs, and makes a little bit of a run between him and Derrick Henry.
I was about to say, when he accepts that award, does he thank Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
King Henry, rushing leader.
You almost have to.
Yeah, I agree. The only person that I would say maybe could be in that same category is Jimmy Garoppolo, just because he came off that horrible injury. He got traded to San Francisco, gets hurt the first week. The team goes 3-13. The next year they go 13-3. They completely flip the narrative. So I could maybe see it, but I'm good with Tannehill too. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, his career was all but dead when he was in Miami, and they actually traded him to Tennessee. Like, didn't cut him or anything, wanted to get something out of it. But, so he sat behind Mariota, and I think Marcus Mariota is a terrible quarterback to begin with.
And
Yeah, he was just benched because he was bad.
Yeah.
Not because he got hurt or anything. He was just bad.
Bold prediction. Comeback player of the year next year, Alex Smith.
oh boy,
Is he going to be able to play next year?
Yeah, he's up and moving right now. He's still rehabbing, but he
Good
has.
for him.
yeah.
He wants to get back out there. I mean, even with everything that he went through, like he thinks he still has some left in the tank and wants to prove that he can come back.
Not just be a game manager.
Yeah.
Well, he might still be a game manager.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think Tannehill, he went 7-3 after, he replaced Mariota, so I
Right.
think he should have been the comeback player.
Yeah. I probably would have given it to Jimmy G, but they're both deserving. NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Nick Bosa won it with 43 votes. I don't think there's
Not-
anyone even close.
Yes.
Not shocked.
I will
good, but-
say, I do not like Ohio State at all, but when he sacked Baker Mayfield
Yeah.
and then he went and planted
Oh,
the
yeah.
fake flag
Yes.
behind him,
I
I've
forgot
never
about
been more
that.
proud of somebody getting a sack before in my life.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, I'm also not a fan of Ohio State, but I'm also not a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. So I was all board on that. Heck yeah. So next was NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one there might be a little bit of a debate because initially I thought it was going to be Josh Jacobs of Adams Oakland Raiders.
I thought my boy Josh was going to get it.
I know, I did too. But it turned out Kyler Murray for Arizona, 26.5 votes. Josh Jacobs got 13. So it really wasn't even that close, according to the Associate Press. But I think to the general public, it was closer than that.
I thought it should have been. I guess I didn't even realize how well Kyler Murray did until I was looking at it, and I'm like, 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns. That's still pretty darn good. Is that 64% completion percentage, 87 quarterback rating? But
Yeah, it's good for a rookie.
I think kind of what may have hurt Josh Jacobs was he was injured for a few of those games.
Sure.
If he wasn't injured for those games, do you think that he wins the award, or do you think Kyler Murray still takes it?
I think it would be closer, but I think Kyler Murray would still get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyler Murray. I like Josh Jacobs. I think what really probably hurt Josh Jacobs the most is Raiders really didn't have a solid passing game this year.
Right.
So-
they knew they were
Yeah.
going to run it.
Yeah, when defense lines up against the Raiders, they're like, well, let's put 8 in the box and see what happens.
Right. Yep. Moving on to Coach of the Year, John Harbaugh, as we talked about, had it with 27.5 votes. Kyle Shanahan came in second with 14.5, so really not even that close. But
I called that during the year.
yes, you did. You kept talking about their 3 tight end sets. And
So amazing what they're doing. But I mean, they have 3 decent tight ends, you know? Hayden Hurst, Mark Andrews, and then there's one more. But I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Yep. And then the Assistant Coach of the Year went to Greg Roman, which I believe is Baltimore's assistant coach too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's the end of our first segment. And here's a message from our sponsors. The 1 Point Safety Podcast is sponsored by Joeltech. Joeltech is a technology consulting firm specializing in small business and school district technology. From networking and server installation to maintenance and computer upgrades, they have you covered. Simply put, Joeltech gets IT done. Visit Joeltech, JOLETEC.com to learn more. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to start off segment 2 with a call-in. We have Dustin Smith from Bay City, Michigan on the line. Hey, Dustin.
Hey guys,
How's it going?
good.
Good.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
It's been reported this week that Drew Brees is considering going to the booth. So my question for you is, who is the current athlete or recently retired athlete that you want to see in the booth?
Tony
For commenting
Romo.
on
Peyton Manning.
Wait, I mean Tony Romo's already in the booth though.
Yeah, he's the
but
best.
But I love listening to Tony Romo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So Drew Brees is. You heard that he's going to go. He's going to retire and go into the booth, or when he retires, he's going to be an announcer.
So I heard comments that his camp is shopping the idea for him to make the transition to the booth. You know, he's got 2 kids, clearly a family man. We saw that with the Super Bowl. You can see that the kids are getting older. He already coaches them. Maybe he wants to retire, have a little less schedule, but still be active in football.
Wow.
that would be surprising.
Yeah, that would be surprising. But to answer your question, I think somebody already said it. Peyton Manning. I mean, his football brain is so big. I think it would be fun to listen to him.
And he might. He said he wouldn't go into the booth or coach or do anything like that until Eli retired.
And he just retired this year, so
Thank God. Yeah, so I agree with
I agree with that.
Peyton Manning.
I don't want to hear Booger McFarland anymore though, so
Yeah, can we actually switch Drew Brees with Booger McFarland?
Well, that would be the dream.
And who names themselves Booger?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand it. But also, to Dustin's point, I think Drew Brees would be pretty cool in the booth,
Yeah.
actually, as well.
I want to know what goes on in his brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any quarterback, I think they have a unique perspective, and I think that's why we like Tony Romo so much, is because he knows it. He's been there. It's like the Farmers commercial. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Right.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, and they're like, you don't just turn off reading defenses and plays. So, like, they line up, and Tony Romo's looking at the defense, and he goes, oh, yeah, that's cover 2. If he yells kill here, they're probably going to run it to the right.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he's like, yep, there's the kill. There's the kill. And then they run it to the right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So what do you think, Dustin? Who would you like to hear?
Going along the same lines, I want to hear the QB of the defense. I want to hear a middle linebacker or a
Ooh.
safety. I'm thinking a gentleman like the Ray Lewis, the man, the myth, the legend. I think and I also like a little character. You know, you got Pat McAfee did a fantastic job
Oh.
analyzing it. He's got a little mix of professionalism, little characterness. I want to find a defensive lineman or a defensive position that has the knowledge, a little character. I want to hear somebody that's going to wreck somebody when they see a play come up. And so I'd like to see somebody like that.
like Terrell Suggs.
Oh,
Like Terrell Suggs. That
Start
would be a-
shooting people in the booth. You
Yeah.
know, as you were saying this, I thought of somebody, and I was like, man, who's retired recently that would be just a genius defensive mind to hear from? Troy Polamalu.
Ooh, Troy Polamalu.
Troy
that's-
Polamalu. The angel of death.
Yes, that would be a good one. Hey, Dustin, thanks for calling. We appreciate the question. That was a good one. He gone.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've actually never thought about who. I really haven't even thought about announcers until Tony Romo got in there, and it was great.
Yeah. You know, you said something interesting too, Mark, while he was on the call there, is the State Farms commercial, Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah.
There were a couple of those this year.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Favorites?
Oh, my favorite commercial last year was the NFL 100 commercial, where they're in the dining hall and they are awards banquet, and all of a sudden Mike Singletary yells fumble, and all of the players just start going crazy. Along the lines, the kid that catches the football and he runs through with all of the greats and everything. Love that commercial.
That was
Yeah.
a great
Basically,
commercial.
I love all NFL commercials,
Mm-hmm.
but my favorite commercial that I've ever heard, and we have a sounder for it, was the God Made a Farmer commercial. It was from 2015. It was a Dodge Ram commercial, and it was good. So let's have a listen to it.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk. Somebody who'd bale a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing. Who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
Yeah, I love that commercial.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very good.
The video brings it even more together, but just the whole feeling of it, and with Paul Harvey, you couldn't have asked for a better voice. So that's my favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time. But the way the NFL is doing their commercials, they've got some good ones, because they have the clout of being able to get together all of these famous NFL players of the past, the Barry Sanders, the Troy Aikmans. Did you guys see in the last NFL commercial the Jimmy Garoppolo? It shows Joe Montana and talking with Jerry Rice, and they're talking, and you hear somebody ask something, and they turn and they go, "Hey, carry my bags." And it's Jimmy Garoppolo with all of their bags, like, because they're all Niners. That's just top notch, and it's great. And it's all in good fun. And kudos to Jimmy to respect, one of the greatest to ever play the game. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome. So transitioning from one of America's favorite sports to watch to another is baseball. And there's some stuff going on with the Astros right now that really kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, so the Astros got caught stealing signs because a former player did an interview and basically said he needed to get it off his chest. So what happened was the Astros had a camera that was in center field that they were using to do like replays and challenges and different things like that. And what they ended up doing is installing a TV in the tunnel to their dugout, and they would actually steal the catcher's calls or signs. And once they figured it out, they'd bang on a trash can. So if you think a fastball is coming, and they figured out that what the changeup sign is, they bang on the trash can, you hear it, and you know that it's a changeup. So it gives a batter a significant advantage.
Some high-tech stuff right there. Hit the trash can, you get a strike.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. There's an Astros fan that didn't believe any of it, and he also happened to be like a web programmer and developer. Mm-hmm. So he wrote an application that pulled every single pitch from the Astros and then went through and basically created like a spectrum visualization software so that if the software noticed a trash can, he could see it on the spectrum during a pitch. So of the 8,000 plus pitches that the Astros received in that season, they caught 14% of them with the trash can banging.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's insane. Those are insane numbers.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 pitches that they knew what was coming.
Yeah. So it actually started a year previous, only they weren't banging on a trash can or actually using a TV in the tunnel. They had an intern that would watch all the pitches live, and then he would put the data in a spreadsheet and try to figure out what the catcher's tendency were and to figure out what the signal was. So once he got it, he'd tell all the batters, and if somebody's on second and he sees the catcher make that call, he'd do a minute motion so that the batter would know what pitch is coming.
Wow.
And they actually called it Project Codebreak.
Oh, well, real subtle name there. Jeez, right. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think some of the ramifications are going to be of this? Or have been handed down a
Yep.
couple
There's
of
been
them.
some handed
Actually,
down.
I went and pulled that. So the punishment so far is the Astros first and second round picks for the next 2 years drafts. That's pretty significant. A $5 million fine. And
Which is not.
a 1 year ban.
A drop in the bucket.
You're right. A 1 year ban for general manager Jeff Lundno and manager AJ Hinch.
So, do you think they should have eradicated any titles?
It's a good question. No, only because I think they won more games in the World Series at LA Dodgers Stadium where they can't bang on a trash can because they don't have the video in the dugout.
Gotcha. Yeah, it a little bit, and I'm not a fan of cheating, but it feels a little bit like, okay, they were the ones that got caught. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
So-
it's been going on forever.
Right. Hey, we got a call coming in. This is Matt from Essexville. Matt, you're on the air. Don't swear.
Hey guys,
Hey, Matt.
how's it going?
Good. What's your question?
I just got a couple thoughts on Andy Reid.
Oh,
Just curious, with him getting the Super Bowl victory now, where does that lock him in as all-time greatest coaches in the NFL?
you know, that's a great question, and we just talked about that. Me personally, I think that solidifies his Hall of Fame ballot. I actually think that he would be a Hall of Fame coach without it. We talked about some of these stats, but something like 14 of 21 seasons with a 10-plus win game. I mean, that's insane. I think all time, I don't know where I would rank him. I'd probably rank him in the top 10, but I definitely think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'd say top 10. He's actually 6th on the all-time coaching wins list. So, I mean, I'd say with another Super Bowl, he probably would get up in top 5.
With that mustache, I might have to put him in the top 3.
Yeah. Where would you rank him, Matt?
I would probably put him in the top 5 already, just because, as you mentioned, with the number of seasons with 10 wins,
Yeah.
that alone, and now taking a second team to a Super Bowl and then getting a victory, especially with it not being on Patrick Mahomes' arm in the Super Bowl, it took a lot of game planning. There's a couple perfectly diagrammed plays, that option that they ran on the 1 yard line to get in, just really, I thought, solidified him as one of the best offensive play callers anyway.
Yeah, and that option play you were talking about was gross.
Yeah.
How I mean, he lined it up. Patrick Mahomes executed it, and it was just amazing. I watched that play probably 15 times.
Yeah, he made the defender look like an idiot.
Yeah,
I know,
might be
I
my favorite
honestly
play.
thought, why don't they run that all the time? 'Cause it was like,
Right.
like, I did not see that coming. But then I was kind of thinking, as a tight end, 'cause I know you guys are both Michigan guys, how do you view Jim Harbaugh never winning anything, but he also strings together lots of consecutive 10-win seasons, 9-win seasons, but has yet to win really anything. Stanford, all the way to the NFL, he got to the Super Bowl, but then lost, and then now with his tenure at Michigan.
Like where would we rank Harbaugh right now?
Yeah,
In the college landscape.
yeah, college, but on a broader picture, just as a head coach.
I would say, yeah, it's good. He gets 9 and 10 win seasons, but he also doesn't play 16 games. So, that's a benefit to him. He wins more of his games. But there's not as much parity in the college football landscape. Like when they're playing Rice College and in some of those lower schools, yeah, you're expected to win it. When I think of Harbaugh, which I'm a diehard Michigan fan, I think Ohio State and Michigan State. And Michigan State is a dumpster fire right now. But we haven't beat Ohio State. We beat them once in the last 10 years. When did that become acceptable at Michigan?
Yeah, I don't know. I will say this, though. Harbaugh went to a Super Bowl
It's true.
in the NFL and almost won it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
and if he ever leaves Michigan, you got to believe that there are probably a half dozen NFL teams that are gonna immediately call him and
I'd
say,
take him.
"Hey, can you
yeah.
come change our program?"
Right.
I mean, up until 3 years ago, it was, who would you rather have, Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh? And I think the majority of people would have said Jim Harbaugh, because John Harbaugh, people were thinking, is he going to be able to keep his job with, Flacco kind of getting past his prime, and can John Harbaugh coach? Now, John Harbaugh is the coach of the year. It's just crazy how the narrative can flip so quickly once you start winning.
Yeah. And I would say this about Jim to John. John, they built around Lamar. Jim hasn't had anybody.
Jim hasn't
he
developed
took
anybody.
Kaepernick to the Super Bowl, and I
Yeah.
mean, that says a lot on for him. So
Yeah, that's true. So to answer your initial question, I would put Andy Reid in top 10, closing in on top 5. If he wins another Super Bowl, I don't know how you don't put him in the top 5.
Agree.
It'll be super interesting. Like you always hear about like the Belichick coaching tree, the Bill Parcells coaching tree, all that. Like the Andy Reid coaching tree is happening now too. So I'm always interested to follow that.
You know what my favorite part about Andy Reid is when they asked him in the post-game Super Bowl, they said, "How are you going to celebrate your Super Bowl victory?" And he said, "I'm going to go and get a cheeseburger, probably make it a double with extra cheese and celebrate with my family." Like, come on. Like he's the real MVP of this whole thing. Can we talk about that? So all right.
He's a genuine nice guy too, so that's always good to see when somebody wins something and they kind of deserve it. So all right, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Hey, thanks, guy.
Good
Have a
talk to
good
you.
one. So yeah, thanks, Matt. That's a great call and great question.
Yeah,
where his legacy is cemented, because I think that's always a point of topic whenever Andy Reid starts getting high in the playoffs. And from what I've heard from other players and like read, is that if they didn't have a horse in the game, they didn't have no skin in the game, they said, "I want the Chiefs to win because I want Andy to get a Super Bowl," because there's just so much respect throughout the league for him.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the Astros, do you think they're going to eradicate any of the titles?
I don't think so.
I don't think they should. I'm just kind of curious at, why don't they take the approach like they do in college football and like do a 1-year postseason ban on them, though?
Sure. I see. I think that would be actually a legitimate punishment. Not so much like, okay, did the punishment fit the crime, but at least you're drawing a line in the sand and say, hey, you want to do this shit? You get caught, you're not going to the postseason next year.
Right.
Like the whole throw the book at him type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I might be okay with that.
And what's going on with the MLB? Like, you just think about like steroid usage,
Yep.
sign stealing, and everything else. And it's like they should just put an asterisk next to the MLB at this point.
Yes. It does seem like there's always some type of scandal going on. And can we talk about something in regards to scandals in Major League Baseball? I think there's an asterisk on the MLB for not putting Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we get it. He bet on his own team to win, which I don't actually think should be illegal in general anyway.
Right.
If you're betting on yourself, what are you gonna? You're gonna play harder.
What's wrong with that?
Right.
But the fact that they will not, they drew a line in the sand and said, we're not letting him in. I think that is a travesty. Derek Jeter not getting unanimously voted in was unfortunate. I think he should have been. Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, I think, is a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think you should not be able to bet on your own team. Because what happens? So let's say I go and say, yeah, I'm going to bet $1 million that my team wins, and then I go to the quarterback of the other team. I'm like, hey, you want $500,000? Throw a couple picks. But I think that's what they're trying. That's what they're trying to get away from.
Sure,
Yeah.
but you could do that 100 different ways.
Right.
Like, I mean, so now we're talking about, you think the quarterback's going to be able to be bought? Because if you can be bought, why couldn't somebody go and say, hey, as a civilian, I bet $1 million. Do you want $500,000 to throw a couple picks?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, speaking of, the Astros and all of that, there was a former Detroit Tiger, Justin Verlander, who is now caught up in the whole middle of this. And I think Verlander is one of the top pitchers of all time, in my opinion. But the Tigers, what do we think about the Detroit Tigers have more Super Bowl winning QBs than the Detroit Lions? And as a Detroit Lions fan, I would love to hear your take on this.
Go Tigers.
As maybe not everyone knows, but Patrick Mahomes was drafted in the 37th round of the Major League Baseball draft, and now he's a Super Bowl winner. So that is pretty insane.
So what we need to do is get Illich to buy the Lions and get the Fords out of there.
Do you think that's the solution?
I think there's been a long enough drought of consistency within the Lions that at some point it's got to start at the top.
Well, I mean, okay. So say they get rid of the Fords and somebody else, because they were talking about the guy that owns Amazon was talking about
Bezos.
Yeah, Bezos wanting to buy the Lions. Do you think that they keep them in Detroit, though? Because...
Yeah, I guess I don't know if I have a great thought on that. I would hope they keep them in Detroit because I think it's a good market and they have a very, very strong fan base. I mean, look what we put up with year in and year out. The only reason
Most of us.
the only reason I bring up the ownership change, and they actually did something that really surprised me this year, is they gave them time. So, like, how many times are we going to give a coach 2 or 3 years and then be like, oh, you're gone? Or keep a GM around who has no idea what he's doing.
I think it's ridiculous that they're keeping Quinn and Patricia. Honestly, you shouldn't have fired Caldwell.
Okay,
he was
I
getting
agree
you
with
into
that.
he was getting you into the playoffs. You guys hired Patricia to say we want to make the next step.
Right, 9-7's not good enough
Right.
anymore.
Or 9-7 is good enough to make it to the playoffs, but we want to win some playoffs games. Maybe talk about an NFC championship appearance. And what is Patricia comes in, and you guys digress.
Yeah, I was going to say, you bring in Patricia, who's this defensive-minded guy, and you have the worst defense in the league.
Oh, I agree. I don't
worst,
think that's
30
acceptable.
second.
No, I'm not saying that that's an acceptable thing to see year in and year out. But at the same point, I think Patricia also has to rebuild the culture of Detroit and get away from, treating these NFL players like superstars and pandering to their needs. And, okay, we won't practice outside today because it's cold. And, there's a culture change that needs to happen, both for the players and the front office. And I think part of that front office is you give him 5 years and you let him figure out if he can do it or not. He's a first-time head coach. To say 9-7 with playoff appearance isn't good enough anymore. We want to go over. I wouldn't have went and hired a first-time coach.
Sure, agree. Completely.
I
agree.
like Patricia, and I think I like what he's trying to do. Now, whether he succeeds or not remains to be seen. But if you're going to do that, then give him time.
Sure. I would just expect that, you wouldn't have the worst defense in the league.
Agreed. Especially after the big money we spent in free agency on Trey Flowers. And to top it all off, we let go of the safety Walker, who went to Seattle and, just had a career year.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely amazing. So do you think you guys need maybe some receiver help? This is a hell of a draft, which we'll get into during our draft show. But it's a hell of a group for wide receivers. You go after a wide receiver, maybe not in your number 3 pick, but you gotta go get some receivers. Or you go after somebody like Josh Gordon, someone that's had problems with some, marijuana and
pass on Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Would you?
He's
Let's
he's
talk about
done.
that.
He's
Yeah.
completely done.
Yeah, it's crazy because he keeps getting opportunities, and what's insane is that we're talking about weed, something that's legal in a lot of states, yet you can't smoke it. I understand if you don't want him to show up to the game high, but in my personal opinion, if he wants to smoke dope, I don't care. Come with a clear mind to the game, and I have no problem.
Yeah,
with
is it affecting your game at all?
Right.
No? Well, then, whatever.
I just don't know if he my problem with him isn't that he smokes dope, is that marijuana has become more of a priority for him than NFL.
Right.
So that, to me, that's a concern.
Sure. So sticking on, problem wide receivers, where do you sit with Antonio Brown?
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't ever want him to play in the NFL.
I
Sure.
love that he can't stop apologizing.
Yeah. Didn't he just do a public apology to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, and he did one to the NFL before that. And every time someone gives him a mic, he just says, I'm sorry. I think what he's finding out is he's being sued left and right.
Right.
He doesn't have an income outside of football.
Right.
And his rap career didn't take off.
Right.
Where's my apology to the Raiders, for
Yeah.
God's sakes?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I got some stats here, though, for Antonio Brown. In his prime, though,
One of the best.
Yeah. The best.
The best. His career has 11,263 yards. That's 13.4 yards a reception, 75 touchdowns. 6 out of his 9 seasons, he had 1,200 plus yards and 8 plus touchdowns. The 3 seasons he didn't have those, his first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that he's been top 3, maybe the best, like stats wise. If you say what receiver you want to go up and get the ball, I say Julio Jones. I would say Julio Jones is the guy that I want to go up. But if you say who do you think the best route runner in the league was during those times, I would say Antonio Brown.
Yeah, that's fair.
Antonio Brown, I think he still has it, but I just think there's way too much baggage and way too much controversy surrounding him that nobody's going to want to bring him in. I mean, especially when he got a workout for New Orleans and they said, here's what you need to do. You just need to come in, do a workout for us. Don't bring any sideshow with you. Don't bring any of your own people or camera crews. And what does he do? He brings his own camera crew, brings his sideshow in. He's like, yep, it's all about me, all about me. Yeah. And then he gets mad at New Orleans for, oh, well, it was just a publicity stunt. No, it wasn't. They wanted to bring you in.
It was such a publicity stunt that his agent dropped him after that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's just got some mental issues that now it's coming more to. Appreciate everyone coming in and listening and to Dustin and Matthew for calling in. That was appreciated. So
yeah. Got some rapid fire questions for both of you here.
Yeah, let's hear them.
First, do you think the XFL completes 2 full seasons?
No.
No, not even close. I think they're done after 5 games.
What's harder, a 300 in bowling or a hole-in-one in golf?
Hole-in-one.
Hole-in-one.
Will Michigan make the NCAA tournament?
No.
Yes.
Interesting. Name one sport that you would be okay if they got rid of.
MLB.
NBA.
Baseball. And final question, is LSU head coach Ed Orgeron and Farmer Frayne from the Waterboy Brothers?
Yes, 100%. I think they're the same person. All right, we're out of here. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.